Hello and welcome to the interview on France 24. Our guest today is the chairman of Iran's National Security and Foreign Policy Parliamentary Committee, Mr. Alaeddin Boroujerdi. Mr. Boroujerdi, thank you so much for joining us. Mamnoon baraye musahibe.
Let's start with the Islamic State group. You've dubbed the US-led coalition a political game, saying that the operation will not succeed unless the group provides direct assistance to the Syrian and Iraqi governments. The same thing that Iran has been doing. But at this point, what would it take for the Islamic Republic and the international coalition to come together in their fight against the militants?
I'm sure you're aware that the Islamic State group is a phenomenon that has developed over a number of years. During this period, certain countries that are known to both the region and Europe have had a role in the emergence of the IS group, and they are continuing this role even today. So the very countries that created the group are now part of a coalition that, incidentally, wants to destroy them. How can a contradiction like this be resolved? These politics need to change, but they remain unchanged. Because Mr. Cameron announced 2 days ago that the support needs to stop. So when we are seeing a partial contradiction in this situation, it's natural that we can't trust them. We don't want to enter a political game. We, as the Islamic Republic of Iran, inherently believe that terrorism is a very dangerous phenomenon, and it needs to be confronted. We are also against the notions of good terrorism and bad terrorism, that some of these groups that are good should be helped. That's what the Americans are doing, and they are followed by a number of European countries. And then apparently some are bad, so we should fight them. As a result of this, we can't see a clear path in front of us, one that we can trust anyway.
Iraq has ruled out foreign boots on the ground in tackling the Islamic State group. Meanwhile, Iran has said that it will attack the jihadists inside Iraq if they advance near the border. Have the two allies come to some sort of agreement on this?
We will not take any steps without coordination with the Iraqi government. We have openly announced full cooperation with them in confronting terrorists, namely the Islamic State group, because Iraq is an independent country, our neighbor, and so we will liaise with them before taking a single step. At the same time, naturally, we won't be afraid if the IS group comes close to our borders. We will act firmly and always with the knowledge of the Iraqi government.
Last month, the Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif met with his Saudi counterpart in New York. This was a sign of rapprochement between the long-term rivals. But then, weeks later, both Tehran and Riyadh renewed their criticism of each other's roles within the region. Is there still hope for a détente?
I think there is. It is Saudi Arabia that has pursued and welcomed a climate for improved relations. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister, Amir Abdullahian, during his visit to Riyadh, met with Saud al-Faisal, who proposed a meeting with the Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif as soon as possible. So Saudi is interested in improving relations. As to why Saudi's attitude has so many ups and downs, I think that's one question to ask the Saudis.
In July, prior to the extension of the interim agreement, you warned that if a deal isn't reached, Iran will resume enriching uranium at 20%. Now, if a nuclear agreement isn't reached by the renewed November 24th deadline, will this still be the case?
At the end of the day, there are only two possibilities. Either both sides will decide to extend the interim agreement, which is a separate topic, or there's acknowledgement that we have adhered to all conditions set out by the Geneva Agreement. This can't just be a one-way path. There is an expectation from Iran that sanctions are lifted altogether so that we can reach a final agreement. If for any reason there isn't an agreement, then this path will no longer remain one way, with us sticking to our end of the bargain while our opposite number delivers nothing. We'll just have to wait and see. As Iran's parliament, we believe this, and if it need be, we will embark on a legal process so that the government is accountable to take everything back to square one.
Let's move to France, which has been one of Iran's long-standing critics, specifically with regard to the nuclear negotiations. Yet the two countries insist on broadening relations. Your presence here is a testament to that. What are you expecting from this trip here?
We came here following an official invitation from France. We've had very honest talks with the head of the Senate and the head of the Parliamentary Commission, and these meetings will continue during my stay here. I think this is because of the history between us. As you know, this is not a 2- or 3-day relationship. It's one that is very deep-rooted. It's possibly one of the longest-standing relationships that Iran has had with a European Union nation. There are also cultural and common interests. Additionally, France has a positive image amongst Iranians. We will not forget their kindness to Ayatollah Khomeini. Based on this, we are in no hurry, nor do we want to damage a positive relationship like this. So we want to keep taking steps forward based on agreements on both sides.
As you mentioned, Iran has been working very hard on its relations. This is partially dependent on the country's human rights situation. However, according to reports, there have been a string of executions and arrests. I want to specifically talk about the Washington Post correspondent Jason Rezaian. 3 months on, he remains detained without charge. Can you explain to us what's happening with his case?
The debate over executions and the conditions that they come with isn't something that's decided by Europe. In 2014, 30 people were executed in the US. 2 of them were women. There's no negative reaction coming out of France's foreign ministry or any other country for that matter. So to say that we operate based on the laws that exist within our country, well, this is something that the whole world can surely understand.
But do you have any new information specifically with regard to the case of Mr. Rezaian?
Naturally, there is a legal process at hand, and the relevant ambassadors can pursue this case. My comment is more about the human rights situation in Iran and the descriptions which exist with regard to this. They're completely unjust. Iran is criticized for its treatment of religious minorities and women, but they're incorrect. Our women have roles in all sectors of society, including the vice presidency, and religious minorities are represented in parliament. So in my opinion, that image is utterly unfair, and these issues must be discussed. We can provide all the relevant information to the ambassadors of the condemning countries.
Finally, where do you, the National Security and Foreign Policy Parliamentary Committee, stand on the bill proposed by Parliament, which would essentially empower vigilantes to enforce Islamic morals? Wouldn't this be sending the wrong signal, specifically to individuals like the acid attackers?
I don't believe these two topics are in any way connected. A mentally unstable person threw acid on 4 women in Esfahan. Another disturbed individual shot 25 people dead in a university in the US. This is a phenomenon that exists throughout the world. With regard to the bill, well, we're an Islamic State. It's not problematic if people are being verbally guided towards Islamic moral codes. For example, in France, can you ignore a red light? No, because that's the law. And every society has its own laws. it has repercussions. The police get involved. This is a similar concept. This legislation seeks to enforce Islamic morals on our society. There's nothing harsh about it. It's based on the Quran's instructions because we're an Islamic state. I think this image that has been created is completely wrong. Once the bill is approved, you will see that the bill will, in fact, help create a healthy society, not the other way around.
So it won't pose any dangers?
Absolutely not.
Thank you for speaking to us, and thank you for watching the interview on France 24.